Hello, good afternoon. Here we are in the early part of January at Fosseway Garden Centre. This afternoon we're looking at pruning a fruit tree. This is a pear tree. What you're really wanting to create is a rose bowl in shape with something like 3 to 5 limbs on the tree, and that will be the structure and strength of your tree. What we're really trying to clean out is this tree that hasn't been pruned for a few years, and we need to sort of get stuck into it and sort it out, clear the middle out and leave a real structure for the tree. I'm going to be using a pair of spear and jacksaw anvil loppers. This is good for cutting bigger pieces of tree and clear it all away. So we're going to make a start straight away. On a branch like this, on here that's a nice clean branch, and in the middle we're just going to cut this down to something about the length of my thumb, which is about 2.5–3 inches long, and that will leave a bud that will produce a flower this year coming. At this time of year it's a good time to be pruning. The buds are tight, and the tree is in a dormant state. If you start getting into bigger pieces of wood that need to be cut, we have a pruning saw. Again, a spear and jackson pruning saw. It is very sharp, has a very broad cutting angle. We'll use here to cut this branch off, because again we don't want any crossing branches. And that will just clear it away. It doesn't work so well on smaller pieces of wood. You're better to use the loppers. For these smaller pieces you could just use a pair of secateurs. In fact, that is easier. I think what I'm going to do is cut that through there. And it is just a matter of looking and where's cutting. This is a really good example of what we're trying to avoid, is long wispy branch where it was pruned last year, is grown up and is starting now to rub on a branch that's above. And if that's allowed to continue, that'll damage the skin, the outer layer of the bark, and then will allow disease in. And as you can see, it's really put on that's about a year's growth. So we're going to cut this off right back to the base to clear that out, to stop this cutting into the bark. And these little spurs that I'm leaving is where it'll fruit. This is a new bud that's growing. It's very tight and dormant at the moment, but hopefully in 2 or 3 months that will open and leaf and start to produce a flower and leaf, and that's where the piece of fruit is. You have a very long piece here and allow that to fruit. What will happen is that will eventually snap. So we're going to cut this off really close back to the tree. Nice and clean cut. And this is on a bigger bit of wood. So that's a reasonably tidy branch. Has got some spurs that will then produce fruit in the coming season. And we will now continue to work through the tree to make it a bit more presentable and looking as though it's loved. What I'd like to show you now is a real classic example of canker on a tree, which is something that needs to be cut out. On really old trees, the canker gets so bad and they almost need taking out completely. This is a real classic example of canker on the branch. It's where the skin has been damaged on the tree, and there's a fungal disease got in to the tree. It's really important to, in tree terms, this is a youngish tree, and this canker needs cutting out of the tree. And here's a good example again of a branch that's growing out underneath, and we'll cross over, so we'll cut that piece out as well. With a pair of long handled loppers, when you get to a tough piece of tree, it makes it far easier to cut the tree. And the pieces that are left over, the bits that you're cutting out of the tree, want to be burnt to clear away all the rubbish rather than leaving it round the tree. It's important to do the pruning of the trees in the autumn when the tree is dormant, and then the wound that you've created by cutting on the tree will harden up and heal. And there isn't really any need to use a sealing wax on the tree. It will naturally heal itself. So this is where it was pruned last year, and it's now put out 3 spears, and we're just leaving something about a length of the thumb where that will produce hopefully fruit for next year. Here's a nasty bit to get out. If the wood gets particularly thick and heavy, this is a new still battery. This is a new still MSA 200C. It's battery operated. It's nice and lightweight. Just click that battery in. I used it for the first time last weekend, and I was rather cynical of using it, but I'm really impressed. There's no pulling and struggling with it. Start, press the button in, pull the trigger, and away it goes. And once you start getting into bigger trees, and if you were pruning bramble trees or older trees, then and you want to make it a bit easier, you could use a chainsaw to prune this out. I'm actually going to take all of this out. I think it's got quite large and gangly, so I'm going to sort of cut it back half to bring it back to here. Really quick and easy way of pruning the tree back.